Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Before I begin today, a big thank you to Devon for the virtual gift voucher. Big thank you, my friend, I really appreciate it. Thank you. But on to today. Today we're taking a look at the returning Silent King and his relationship with the current dominant force of the dynasties, Imotekh, the Stormlord. Spoiler warning to begin, we are going to be discussing general lore from the world of Warhammer 40k. So you have been warned. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. So as the world and their mother knows by now, the Silent King is returning. The galaxy itself is going to change. Things will never be the same. Not just for the lesser races, but even more so for the Necrons themselves. Especially for Imotekh the Stormlord, Phaeron of the Sautekh Dynasty. Now for those who may not be aware, the Necron Empire is broken down into dynasties, each ruled by its own Phaeron. And these can range from single tomb worlds to vast galaxy-spanning empires. In the ancient times, all dynasties were held accountable and ruled by the Triarch, three of the most powerful Phaerons, headed of course by the Silent King himself. But the ancient times are no more, and the Silent King's command protocols are severed. The Necrons are no longer bound to serve. And since the Silent King's departure into the void, no Phaeron has grown in prominence and power as much as Imotekh. Since his reawakening, Imotekh has led the Sautekh Dynasty to be the most dominant power of the Necron race. The original Phaeron of the Sautekh Dynasty having died during the hibernation process, Imotekh awoke to find his tomb world racked with civil war, as vying nobles fought and bickered for the throne. And instead of backing one of these warring factions, Imotekh marshalled his own troops and decimated the lot of them, claiming the throne for himself. And since then has proceeded to lead the Sautekh Dynasty on a vast, rapid expansion across the eastern fringe, up against the very borders of Ultramar itself. And he's not stopping there. Now during the short story For Every End a Beginning, as Illumina Xeres is monitoring the effects of the Silent King's new weapon, we are given the line, "These glyphs bear the heraldic designs and coloration of numerous Necron dynasties. Some are minor, some are very powerful, but all, Xeres knows, have accepted the mastery of his patron." So according to this, it's smooth sailing for the Silent King. He's returned and seemingly asserted his authority, with all the Necron race bowing before him. However, I don't believe it's that simple. Back in issue 450 of the White Dwarf magazine, we were given an article on the Silent King, laying the groundwork for his return, and there was a very interesting quote from Imotekh included. "I have heard the rumours of the Silent King's return. They are risible and unworthy of a real ruler. Creeping through darkness, playing shadow games through puppets. No true king acts this way. And if the tales are true, he will learn that his time is long since over." Now bearing in mind this article itself was laying the groundwork for the returning Silent King, this quote isn't just happenstance. GW doesn't put things like this out for no reason. And I think this leaves us with some very interesting story possibilities. Firstly, Zeraz was referring to the Silent King as his patron, alluding to a deal struck between the two, which makes it very likely that the Silent King is having to be a lot more diplomatic with his fellow Necrons. His command protocols long gone. Could a deal of sorts have been struck with Imotekh? I mean, if there's any Necron he may have to make a deal with, it would be Imotekh. But if that's the case, what could he have offered? A place on the Triarch? Well, Imotech's the most powerful Phaeron out there. Aside from the Silent King, of course. He'd really have to be on the Triarch anyway, if the Empire of old was to be re-established. So that doesn't really cut it. Perhaps the Silent King has named him his successor. The next Silent King to be. Well, that would make a little more sense. And also open up some really intriguing political storylines. As Imotekh could work behind the scenes to have the Silent King eliminated, thus inheriting not only the position of Silent King, but the only dynasty out there possibly more powerful than his own. And that one does sound like a pretty interesting storyline that I would like to see play out. But on the note of power, of course, there's the possibility of, for all Imotech's bluster, that the Silent King's return and the sheer scale of his arrival simply forced Imotekh to bend the knee. Now this is the route if GW simply wants to make the Silent King out to be the ultimate big badass. And we know he's travelling on a Death Star-esque tomb ship filled to the brim with the troops of his own dynasty. But the problem I have with that is that Imotekh has an entire empire at his command. Over 80 tomb worlds. At his beck and call. Would he really fear the Silent King? I don't think so. He's famed for his arrogance and sense of superiority. It really wouldn't make sense for his character. But again, with this route, we could see Imotekh subtly working behind the scenes to overthrow his new ruler, to claim the power for himself. Then lastly, of course, Imotekh could simply be following the Silent King because he wants to. That having seen his returning lord come face to face with the power of the Silent King, that it's akin to the Primarchs encountering the Emperor. They simply want to serve. They can't help but bend the knee before them. But of course, why then put out the comment in White Wolf? It really wouldn't make any sense. No, either way, I think, or at least I hope, as 9th edition continues on, we could just see an evolving storyline of Imotech's true desires, as he undermines the Silent King to claim the position for himself. But as always guys, what do you think? Do you think this is just an offhand comment put in to add a bit of spice but with no real reason? Or like me, do you think there could be more to it? That the previous headpiece of the Necron race shouldn't be sidelined in such a simple way? That there is definitely more of a story that could be told? And is it on the way? Could we see it evolving as the new edition rolls out? As always, drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love to read them. A huge thank you to all my subscribers. Your support really means a lot to me, it truly does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then please drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.